Alabama Youth Tobacco Prevention Program. We want to let you know about the dangers of nicotine, tobacco products in general, but specifically e-cigarettes and hookahs. Has anyone seen one of these devices? Who knows what that is? Well, it would be really strange if you hadn't seen it, because this is a Juul and it is the most popular e-cigarette on the market. Anybody want to guess what percentage of the U.S. market Juul has? Anybody? Yes. 75%. Yes, you are right. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, everybody. And this happened really quickly. This happened very quickly. Juul has not been out that long. In about 2 to 3 years, Juul got that popular. So we're going to look at why. Okay, Juul and all other e-cigarettes are produced or are associated with big tobacco companies. Marlboro there, which also makes an e-cigarette called Mark 10. Marlboro used to be part of Philip Morris, the Altria group. Altria bought 35% of Juul back in December. So Juul started out as an independent company, but now it's part of big tobacco. So big tobacco companies are looking at replacing their customers, and so they came up with a way to better target young people your age. Because 88% of adult smokers started smoking before age 18. Does anybody have any idea why that might happen? Yes. You are absolutely right. And we're going to talk about that. All right. Okay, this was, here we go. Your brains are works in progress. Right now, at this time of your life, up until you're about in the middle 20s, your brains are developing. They're building all kinds of new pathways, kind of like a big interstate system, always building new roads, connecting new synapses, and there's a whole lot of traffic in your brain. Do you ever feel like there's just so many ideas and thoughts running through your brain that there's going to be a traffic jam? But the reason why, because your brains are developing, they're a lot more susceptible to the effects of nicotine. Now, nicotine overloads your reward pathways. Who knows what dopamine is? Anybody heard of dopamine? Yes. Absolutely. It's your feel-good chemical. And dopamine is wonderful. It helps send messages around your brain. You know, if you want to run, play, eat a cookie, all these cool things. But what nicotine does, it overloads your dopamine production system. So, let's see now. All right. This is not going to play because this is not showing up. Could y'all click, there's a file in there called the de novo file. Do you think y'all could click on that? Let's see. Excuse the technical difficulties. It's supposed to run automatically, but we didn't quite. There it is. Sound.
It was called dopamine. Dopamine does a lot of things, but one of its responsibilities is it keeps you happy. Out here, you've just had a touchdown, and you've just asked somebody out to the prom, and they've said yes, or so your father bought you a car, your mother and father bought you a car. Your dopamine's out here. But it's still within the normal range of what you can produce. And what does dopamine say? Well, dopamine's a very happy chemical. It says something that was immortalized in a song by James Brown, I feel good. What happens when you put an addictive drug in your body, like nicotine? Nicotine actually goes in and grabs onto this brain cell that's trying to talk, and it causes the brain cell to get very excited. And instead of releasing just 3 dopamines, it releases 9 dopamines. So those dopamines go over here and they attack this brain cell. And they don't say, I feel good. They yell, I feel really good. Brains don't like yelling. Those little receptors, they don't like all that dopamine, so they grow earmuffs. Little earmuffs, so they muffle the sound of the dopamine. It can take you 3 months to 6 months to grow those earmuffs. It can take you 10 years to get rid of them after you've stopped using nicotine. That's why drug addiction is such a long-term change in your brain. You have altered the way those little ears are going to hear for decades. Because you've grown those earmuffs, the only way you can communicate is to have nicotine in your brain. So what happens when you don't have nicotine in your brain? You start to feel bad. And the only way you can feel good again is to put nicotine back up in your brain. You have changed the way your I feel good sits in your brain. And you can't feel good unless you have a drug in your body.
Thank you very much, ladies. All right. So, yeah, nicotine just really overloads your brain, but that's not all it does. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first we're going to talk about what's really in these e-cigarettes. It's made up of a battery, this absorbent material, which has nicotine, propylene glycol, vegetable glycerin, and all kinds of flavoring chemicals. And the coil heats that up, and then it turns it into an aerosol. So there are different kinds of e-cigarettes. Juul is a type of pod-based system. That is, Juul is there on the bottom. Fix, another brand of pod-based system, is on the top. And these cartridges do contain nicotine. There are a few e-cigarettes that just have flavors, but that's not most of them. Most of them have nicotine, and Juuls have nicotine all the time, and they have a lot of nicotine. Oops, okay. All right. The makers of Juul designed their product to mimic the hit of nicotine that a smoker gets with a regular combustible cigarette. Can you see that green line there on the top? That tracks how nicotine hits the brain for a smoker within the first 5 to 10 minutes there. Then the blue line is nicotine salt. That's the type of nicotine that's used in Juul and other pod-based systems. It goes almost as high, and then it tracks along pretty well. So people who use Juul are getting a very similar hit of nicotine to people who use traditional cigarettes. And then there are other types of e-cigarettes that are refillable. They usually use free-base nicotine. It has a smaller hit of nicotine, but then again, they all do contain nicotine and they all are addictive. Okay. And here's kind of a comparison. Salt-based nicotine has a lot more nicotine, 41.3 milligrams. The pods are not made to be refilled, but at Partnership, we've heard from our partners in local law enforcement that they're finding a lot of people figuring out ways to refill these Juul pods and using illegal substances that increase the danger. Okay. All right. 41.3 milligrams. If you saw a pack of Juuls, they would say that they have 5% strength. But, you know, what's 5% strength? You know, 5's a small number, right? No, it's actually, when you're talking about nicotine, it's a pretty big number. Now, we're missing out on some of the animation here, but I can talk you through that. Okay. One pack of cigarettes, 20 cigarettes, you have about 20 puffs per cigarette. Now, a Juul pod, we don't know exactly how much nicotine is in each Juul pod because they don't have to be precise, and also they have different strength levels, but we do know that Juul contains at least as much nicotine as one pack of cigarettes. I think in Canada they sell a stronger variety, and then I think in Europe they sell a slightly weaker variety because there's more regulation there. But you know, you're looking at 1 to 2 packs of cigarettes per Juul pod. There are other e-cigarette pod systems that contain as many as 75 cigarettes worth of nicotine per pod, or even 90. But again, we're focusing on Juul because that's the popular one. That's the one we're seeing most kids in school using because they look cool and they don't know all the bad things in that cool-looking device. Okay. Besides overloading your dopamine production system, nicotine does a lot of other bad things to your body. It mimics the action of acetylcholine. That's another neuroreceptor that sends messages all throughout your body. And nicotine binds to some of those acetylcholine receptors. So basically, it makes your body not work as well as it's supposed to. That's a picture of some termites right there. Think about if you had a brand new house, it's nice and strong, you're going there to live. And if your home gets invaded by termites, it weakens the whole structure. That's what nicotine does to your body. It not only does it addict you to itself, it acts on all the systems in your body to weaken them. All right. Like, it rewires and changes your brain. It causes trouble breathing and damage to your lungs. It hurts your heart, makes it beat faster. It even increases acid reflux. Every system in your body, nicotine hurts it. So who in here likes to play sports? All right, cool. What do you like to play? Cool, cool. What about you? Wonderful. What about you? Wonderful. Who likes to sing in the choir? I like to sing in the choir. Hey, who plays a musical instrument? Anybody play in the band? All right, you in the blue right there, what do you play? All right, good deal. Any French horn players in here? Yay, horn, I played horn. All right, now think about it. You have to have good lung power to be able to run, to be able to sing, to be able to play those musical instruments. And nicotine, it hurts that. It keeps all those systems from not working as well as they should, so then you aren't going to be able to do those fun things you like to do. All right. Okay. Besides nicotine, we have benzoic acid, which is a chemical that helps the hit of nicotine and helps the flavors. Glycerol, propylene glycol, oils. But you see there, we have question marks. We don't know every single thing that's in e-cigarette liquid because right now there's kind of a regulatory loophole that e-cigarettes are existing in right now. A lot of states and even the federal government are looking right now at banning e-cigarette flavors because some of the flavoring chemicals are bad. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But we really don't know everything in e-cigarette juice because the makers aren't forced to print all the ingredients. They have some of the ingredients, but not everything. And also, we don't have decades worth of research studying what happens when the body uses these e-cigarettes. All right. Benzoic acid, for example, it causes irritation to your lungs, nose, and throat, coughing, shortness of breath, and wheezing. It's so toxic that if you got it on your hands, it would cause cracking and drying. So nicotine is doing bad things to your body. Benzoic acid is also doing bad things to your body. And again, I said earlier that these vape pens produce an aerosol. Before I started talking to y'all, who thought that e-cigarettes produced a vapor? Well, they call them vape pens, so isn't it kind of like water vapor? No, it's not. It's an aerosol. And an aerosol has small particles inside it. It carries these small particles like nicotine, the flavoring chemicals, heavy metals, from the devices themselves. And who has ever sprayed hairspray or some kind of bug spray that's sticky? You spray it and it sticks to everything. Well, that's what that vape cloud does. That aerosol sticks to everything. It sticks to your lungs. And if you're standing next to somebody who is vaping and you breathe that aerosol cloud, it's going to stick to you too. And like if you get in the car with somebody who's been vaping, but they stop, that vape cloud has stuck to all the surfaces inside that car. So again, it's stuck to you. Here's a list of just some of the chemicals that we have found in e-cigarette aerosol. There's heavy metals in here, all kinds of potentially toxic chemicals. I'm going to highlight a couple of these, like propylene glycol. That's also found in antifreeze. Acetone, that's a chemical also found in nail polish remover. Ethylbenzene in paints and pesticides. That one down there, that's formaldehyde. Has anybody dissected a frog or anything in biology class? They used to use formaldehyde in embalming fluid. Of course, nicotine and then rubidium there, which is also used in fireworks. There are just a lot of dangerous chemicals that are in there. And the industry knows that, again, they're not showing everything here. The industry is focusing on flavors, and they're focusing on marketing, and they're focusing on changing the whole culture regarding tobacco. Here are just some of the many flavors, and there are literally thousands and thousands of e-cigarette flavors. Now, who do you think about this, chicken and waffles, chocolate, and the city of San Francisco, where Juul is based, they have banned the sale of all e-cigarettes until more study can be done. And Michigan and New York have banned the sale of flavored e-cigarettes. The federal government's looking at banning the sale of flavored e-cigarettes. Now, this is actually a photo that I took at a convenience store. There they're selling the Juul flavors right above candy. Now, who do you think might find, well, I wanted to look at that again. Well, you saw the candy right there. Who do you think the target audience is when they have candy flavors? Yes. Yeah. Candy flavors attract kids. Adults like candy too, but kids. And also, they showed that previous slide were some early ads for Juul. They showed young people. Now, they did say that they were older than 21, but, when I was a teenager, people who were 21 were pretty cool. So they're targeting younger people, not non-smokers. And they had a very sophisticated social media presence with all kinds of memes that really downplayed any dangers. They just wanted to show that it was a cool tech device. All right. Okay, who's heard of hookah? What is it? Yes, absolutely. We're going to look quickly at what hookah is, how it works, what it's made of, and the risks. right? Hookah uses charcoal to burn tobacco. The smoke goes down a pipe into a bowl of water, which cools the smoke, and then the smoke comes out a pipe, and people smoke the pipe. The tobacco has all the chemicals that any kind of combustible cigarette would have. It has all the tar, all the nicotine, other dangerous chemicals. Hookah also contains dangerous chemicals from the charcoal. And because it is heated to such a high degree, sometimes it can leach heavy metals from the hookah device itself. Also, because that water cools off the smoke, some people think, oh, that filters the smoke. No, it doesn't. It cools the smoke. It makes the smoke go deeper into your lungs. So again, that makes it even worse. A typical cigarette has about 20 puffs. So if someone takes a cigarette break, they might have one cigarette. Usually a hookah session, people who are using hookah, they do it in a group setting, and they have about 200 puffs. So they're getting a lot more of the toxic chemicals at the same time. And hookah has the same health risks that other types of tobacco do. Oral cancer, stomach cancer, reduced lung function, lung cancer, esophageal cancer, and decreased fertility. Again, you know, nicotine hits every system in your body. And because people usually pass that pipe around, you're also exposing yourself to communicable diseases. And so, hookah is, we don't like to say any tobacco product is safer than others, because they're not. None of them are safe. But I think hookah is really the worst. So now, I've talked to y'all a lot. Now I want you to talk to me. Think about what you would like to tell your peers or your parents, your family members about the dangers of nicotine, e-cigarettes, hookah. I'd like you to share your own public service announcement. Here are some examples that I've come up with, and I've been having kids all over the county write public service announcements for me, and I incorporate those into my presentation too. Pod vapes are dangerous nicotine delivery devices, not cool tech toys. I'm not fooled by Juuls. Nicotine is no joke. It hurts your heart and makes you choke, so don't vape and don't smoke. E-cigs make an aerosol filled with chemicals that can hurt your lungs. Don't get lost in the cloud. So, it just has to be one sentence, two sentences about, what did you hear today that really made an impression on you? And what would you tell somebody, say if they offered you an e-cigarette, or you go home tonight and you tell your parents what you learned about in school today, what would you say? Who would like to think up a good public service announcement and share it? Come on, I know there's somebody here who would like to do that. All right, yes. Everybody listen. You are absolutely right. Yay. Yes, yes, yes. All right, next. All right, listen, everybody. No, don't smoke, it's a joke. Absolutely, yes. It can hurt us, yes.
You can't choke if you don't smoke.
Good deal, yes. Very good, you're absolutely right. Hey, ladies, come on. Come on, ladies, yes. Who would like, yes. What was that? Don't do e-cigarettes, yes, absolutely. See, the message doesn't have to be long, yes. Listen, everybody.
Don't vape, don't smoke unless you want damage.
Very good. Don't vape, don't smoke unless you want damage. Yes. Who else? One more really good one. Yes, sir. Yes, it is. Smoke Smoking is bad for you. Smoking is bad for you. Yes, this is great. Okay, now, yeah, these are kind of obvious messages. Yes, smoking is bad for you, but you are the target of multi-billion-dollar ad campaigns from e-cigarette companies. They want you to think that, oh, this is just really no big deal. So you have to keep saying, no, this is not a good thing, and this is why. So I have given your teachers some anonymous surveys. What's the first rule of anonymous survey? Don't put your name on it. Yes, yes, absolutely. We do not want your name. We do not want your school. We just want you to say, on one side of the survey, it asks you what you knew about 8 questions before you saw this presentation. And afterward, on the other side, what did you learn today? So just rate that, and there's some basic information about your grade and stuff at the bottom, but no names at all. And so you are helping us to develop our message so we can better convince kids that this is a real problem. So thank you all for participating. Y'all were a great group. Give yourselves a hand.